it's so important to focus on, connecting people and using tangible ways of finding points of joy. And this whole idea of touch deprivation, which we haven't really seen in mental health for years, we're starting to see it again because people aren't connected. They want to feel connected to others. They want to be able to hug others, to touch others. And that's why we need to think about creative ways of play. So tell me about some of the ways that MindUP is focusing on play, that we are using our sensory organs, that we're touching, we're using our hands to really engage in play that helps us to learn and grow.
Our entire section around mindful awareness is focused on the senses. So I want to emphasize the importance of focusing on the senses because we have senses. The senses that you have are enough for you to practice mindfulness and play. So it can be something as simple as taking a mindful walk, but deciding that on this walk, I'm going to count as many sounds as I can. On this short walk that I'm used to, if I just count, you notice that when you make your attention, make your focus go on the sounds, you start to hear sounds you've never heard before. This could even happen in your office or at home or in your bedroom. That's one thing, that's one way to do it. Or you can have your friends and decide to play a game where you are going to count as you're driving. Count every single time you can spot somebody who's smiling or somebody you can make eye contact with and smile. Just count that. It's once again, it's using the senses. And the power of touch is also really interesting because we teach kids to have a corner at home where they can have maybe a teddy bear. Maybe there's a specific blanket that when you hold that blanket, it makes you feel good. Don't question why it makes you feel good. Just trust that it does, and have that handy so that when you feel a certain way, you can trust the process of grabbing that thing. And finally, music. Everybody, and this goes into my own self-care, everybody should have a list of 3 to 5 songs that they know exactly what moods the songs are going to trigger. You know, the songs that no matter what's going on with you, if you play that song, you're going to want to dance. You know, if you have a song you should play, you're going to feel hyped. You're going to want to start jumping around. We should all have those songs because that is using the senses to practice mindful awareness and to also play, which ultimately leads to better mental health.
You're absolutely right. When we enter this world, our bodies and brains are just primed to learn, to engage, to stimulate the senses. And for some reason, some way along the adulthood spectrum, we forget to play. And, play is kind of like a term that sometimes gets a negative connotation. Play doesn't mean a lack of productivity. And the research is showing it's the opposite. Play sets us up for higher productivity, for more efficiency, for more meaningful interactions with others. And the more we stimulate the senses, the better we are in terms of our emotional well-being and also our productivity. And, I'm glad you brought up touch because our skin is the largest organ in our body and we need to stimulate our skin. We need to have engagement with our, hands and our senses because that allows the happy chemicals to be released and for us to feel a sense of well-being. So I'm so glad you're focusing on the senses because that's something that we take for granted, right?
Yeah, and once again, the key for me is I'm focused on equity, and I don't want folks to feel like they need to go purchase a tool outside, or you have to have the best app on your cell phone. Before any of that, any of the senses that you have are very powerful, so leverage them. There are limitless numbers of ways to leverage them. One of the ways that I take care of myself is by trying to model what I teach. And I go through those pillars as well. And I think about the importance of the brain, the importance of regulating emotions through the senses, and the importance of bringing kindness, optimism, and gratitude in my own life. So the first thing I do is I get to know myself. What are the things that make me happy? What are the things that make me not so happy? I have a clear understanding of those things because if I don't have any awareness around what triggers me, how can I work on the regulation? It's not possible. So I have a list of the top things that are habitual that would get me there. But I also have a list of everything that I know is uplifting to my brain. How do I feel joy? Anybody can investigate themselves. Just take 1 week. I'm going to take notes this week. Every single time my body tells me that I'm triggered, I'm going to wait, take notes, and look into why. Opposite as well. Every chance I get to feel joy, let me write that down because if you could know those things, you can replicate them. That's the first thing that I do. The second thing is I practice mindfulness. I daily, I schedule time to sit with my thoughts, with my breath. I do it consistently in a scheduled way, as well as intervention throughout the day. When things happen to me where I know I only have 30 seconds, I need to be ready. Just some mindful breathing is always extremely useful. So I practice that. And finally, I try to surround myself with people and content that are uplifting. And this is very intentional. The saying that you are the sum of the five people you spend the most time with, it is actually real. If everybody around you tends to be chronically negative, it's going to affect you. If they are chronically positive, they will affect you as well. So I carefully curate who's around me, who I spend time with. But that goes beyond just the people I see every single day. It goes with who I talk to on the phone. It goes to my social media page, because people complain about social media, but there's an algorithm. Like, you find what you seek, you see what you like and what you consume. So you can curate your page. Everybody, go out there right now, find the 5 most uplifting pages on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. Like those pages, follow those creators, and next thing you know, the algorithm is going to figure out that this is what you enjoy. It will feed you those things. And I really want to emphasize that this is not meant to be a toxic way of being positive. We already know all the bad things that are happening out there. Our brains are wired to see the negativity first. So trust me, you will find the negative. So let that automatic way of the brain working do its thing, but be intentional in uplifting others and bringing into your life people who are uplifting, so you can have more optimism, kindness, and gratitude. So that's what I do and what I recommend. What about you, Dr. Judith? What do you do for your self-care, and what do you recommend for folks?
So the professional practices and personal practices that I use and that I, basically suggest for my patients are based on something I call the 5 V's. So the first one is validation. We tend to walk through life and brush off our feelings and not truly validate how we're feeling. And it could be because we're busy, or it could be culturally or just the way we were raised. But I like to use things like mirror affirmations to look in the mirror and validate how I'm feeling in the present. Because if we don't validate how we're feeling, if we gas out ourselves, how can we do anything about it? And the validation could be both positive or negative. Validate if you're having positive or negative feelings and name them. The second is venting. I feel like venting is a very scientific term. It means to release air. But spiritually and emotionally, we need to vent to something. If we don't have someone to talk to, write it out on a journal. Vent to a therapist if that's who you want to talk to. Talk to a mentor, a coach, a loved one, a faith leader. But getting those emotions out is really powerful, and it's really the next step to validating those emotions. The third is values. We all have values in life. Sometimes along the way, we get caught up in our careers and we lose sight of what's really important. So try to figure out, back in your past, what brought purpose to your life, what made you feel as if you were really, contributing to the world, and try to tap back into that. It could be something as small as a hobby. It could be your faith. It could be your family. It could be an organization. But whatever that is, really tap into it. It could be as small as supporting a local business by going and buying a cup of coffee from them versus buying a cup of coffee from a chain. Figure out what the values are and really invest in that. The fourth is the annoying one. It's the vitals. Doctors always say, get sleep, eat well, move. But these things are important. And so for me, I have to move every day. If it's not working out, it's walking to my office through Times Square. But, movement is so important. I try to get good sleep. So practice good sleep hygiene, turn those devices off after 9, try not to use too much caffeine. I try to nourish my body and my brain with things that I know are evidence-based to promote, learning and to reduce inflammation in the body. So I really, that's a form of self-care for me. I'm very careful about what I eat because I want to nourish my body. And a part of vitals, I think, is play. I think we don't take the time to play enough. And play doesn't have to be really going out and throwing a ball. Play could be listening to your favorite song and dancing. Play could be, doing a puzzle. But we need to, really introduce joy back into our lives. And the fifth one is vision. So what do you have to look forward to? what keeps you moving forward to the future? A lot of times we get stuck in the past, but what I tell my patients and people I work with is put something on the calendar that you're looking forward to, something that excites you. And that way you have something that you're moving forward to versus being stuck, because we all need to have a vision. And some of the tools I use in my practice with my patients are therapies, play therapy with slime. I try to utilize things that are fun, that are tactile, because we take for granted 5 minutes of play with our child every day where our phones are away from us, where we're not distracted by work. It really goes a long way. You don't have to dedicate like a whole hour, but having those little times where it's protected time with you and your child are so important, because it allows you to just immerse yourself in that experience with your child and to really connect and to be present.